YouTube and Substack. There we go. We have a nice rainy day in DC today, which I like. And it also makes the lighting great for my show, which I like as well. So that's a double good thing. I like rainy weather, always have. But I like the lights when it's kind of rainy. There we go. All right. Substack. Let's make sure I got you. There we go. All right. There's Substack. Excellent. Excellent. All right. There's NJ. Hello, NJ. Tanya. Oops. All right. Yeah, we got a nice one. Although it may or may not be big. There's like chance of big rain. Although it's dark, which is nice. I always like the dark. Actually, it is kind of a neat. There's kind of a neat cliff thing. Probably hard for you guys to see. I don't know if you could see it. See, I don't think you'd see it as clearly as I'm seeing it. There's a really cool kind of cliff feature happening in the clouds. Where is this? Oh, that's really neat. Hold on. Yeah. Kind of well, actually, this is really cool. I'm going to get my camera out. I don't think you can get fully what the you can't fully appreciate what it's doing with the clouds, but it's really cool because the clouds are sort of doing this whole. See, it's hard for you to fully appreciate what over there because you can tell it's like that almost cliff of clouds where the storm begins and the storm isn't. It's cooler than that. But very interesting. Yeah, like I said, I can tell out my window. It's just like all of a sudden the clouds have structure where the rain is happening. Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. I always love good rainstorms. Always. Hey, Crutch. Hello, Amanda, again. Let me pull up my notes again. All right, we're ready to go. I can start TikTok, and I think we are good. Baltimore's getting hammered. It's up for grabs whether we get bad rains or not today. There's a tornado watch, but, there we go. TikTok as well. All right. Welcome, everybody. Lots of news to talk about today, which we shall do. Anyway, I finally, you guys might have noticed on YouTube or maybe some of the other, I finally got the inspiration to feed my, because I do my notes for the show, right? And I've got like pages of notes that I prepare with news articles I grab and things like that. And I finally got the inspiration a couple of days ago, and I thought, you know what? Because like on YouTube, you're supposed to use, it's better to use a picture placeholder, like a picture preview, and people do those graphics and stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to ask ChatGPT. I'm going to give it my notes for the show and say, here are my notes for the show. Can you do a graphic encompassing the notes? And it's been creating the last couple of days graphics. Now, TikTok, I didn't put it on TikTok, but for YouTube, and a couple of you guys would have seen it. I don't even know whether Substack got it. YouTube would have gotten it. And it's really cool. Facebook too, I think. But I just think it's done a very interesting job. It was just fun. Like I said, these are the things that I find fascinating with AI. I switched it. The camera's good now, but I find stuff like this fascinating with AI, is just like giving it my show notes and say, make a graphic that I could use as a, I forget what you call it on YouTube and other places, not a preview picture or whatever it is. And it does really interesting stuff. Actually, I'm trying to think. Actually, I do have it here. Hold on. I'm going to, just for fun, I have to send it to myself so I can show you guys. Here it is. So like this is an example of what it did for today's show, just for fun. But I think this is what it did for today's show. And this is literally just reading, I gave it my notes and I said, make an image based on my notes. And it picked all the topics I'm talking about, or a lot of them, and put them in there. I did tell it Iran war update. I said, put Iran war update in other news because there's a lot of Iran news, but otherwise just give me a graphic based on my notes. And that's what it came up with. I think it's pretty cool, actually. I mean, when you consider quite literally, I gave it 6 pages of notes of the show and that's it. I mean, it's crazy. It really is, because you can tell there's Air Force One. I'm talking about Netanyahu. I'm mentioning Lindsey Graham. There's a McConnell update. There's something about Medicare. There's something about Zelensky when the Iranians. I mean, like it's I think it's kind of cool. Well, I say thumbnail, except that, of course, on YouTube, it's the big placeholder when you scroll by. I guess it is a thumbnail. I think on YouTube, when I'm looking at a bigger thing, it's not a thumbnail, but I guess it is. Yeah. Anyway, I just find it kind of neat. Again, those are the kind of things, to me, are really cool about AI. AI, very scary. I still think it's going to blow up the world. But but stuff like this fascinates me. I think there's a creativity there and an ingenuity there, even though obviously it's not a thinking thing. It's kind of freaks me out sometimes. Anyway, welcome everybody. John Ervos is here. We're here to talk about the latest news from around the world. We, of course, do have Iran news, which we're going to talk about. We've got a lot of Ukraine news, a lot of Trump news, a lot of everybody else news. There we go. Anyway, so welcome, guys. Happy Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Wednesday. Not sure why, but I do. Damien and I went down to the Smithsonian again today just for fun, to the castle, which had reopened. It wasn't as good as we thought it was reopened. It's not reopened for several years, but they had a special exhibit, and I did get a lobster roll, which was kind of fun. Not cheap, but fun. So that was kind of fun. But otherwise, it was okay. Anyway, let's get the news rolling, guys. So welcome, everybody. So the way we do the show is I go through the news. I sort of try to hit the topics I think you guys find interesting, and then we go from there. Please do keep your gifts coming. Your gifts help keep me in the luxury to which I'm accustomed. No, but I do this for a living, so I very much appreciate your gifts and your support. So thank you for that. And let's get rolling with no further ado. So Lindsey Graham's funeral was today. Thank you, Jackie. Lindsey Graham's funeral today. Lindsey Graham, big Republican senator, big supporter of Ukraine, big supporter of Trump. Not good, but big, huge supporter of Ukraine, which is a good thing. He died suddenly about a week ago from a nasty heart thing. Forget what it's called, but basically like the aorta bursts or aorta dissection or something like that. The aorta burst and you died. Very bad thing. So his funeral was today. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was there, which was interesting because Zelensky and Netanyahu spoke, because Zelensky came for it as well. Very interesting. We're going to jump into some of the Zelensky stuff because he's done very well with this. Zelensky very smartly, the president of Ukraine, has very smartly rehabilitated himself with Trump, actually, in a huge way. But anyway, let's get on with this. So Semaphore writes, Zelensky made some headway in his meeting with a more sympathetic Trump earlier today. Zelensky described the meeting as good and said the two discussed licenses for Patriot interceptors and diplomacy. The Financial Times reported that Trump envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner agreed to visit Kyiv as part of a renewed push to end the war, which would be their first trip to the country as part of the effort. The Senate will take its first vote on the long-stalled Russia sanctions. Thank you, Sadie. Bill later this evening. The test will be how many Democrats support it. The White House described Trump's separate meetings today with Zelensky and Netanyahu as positive and productive. The Israeli prime minister finds himself on tougher footing with Trump than Zelensky, but each has one less friend in Washington without Graham. Axios writes that U.S. officials believe, this is now talking about Iran, U.S. officials believe sanctions against Iran could hurt more than bombs. U.S. intelligence and open source media reports point to a deepening economic crisis in Iran, including gasoline shortages in one of the world's most oil-rich nations. The Iranians want to stop being bombed and they want money, a senior administration official said, but that's almost in reverse order. They really want the money first. Maybe. Look, that's a cute spin to the story, right? U.S. officials believe sanctions could hurt more than bombs. Well, considering the bombs aren't hurting at all, yeah, sanctions could hurt more than bombs. I mean, duh, right? We already know. There was a CIA assessment recently that said that bombing Iran isn't going to make any difference. It's not going to, or likely not to make any difference. It will likely not change their mind. It won't make them change positions in the negotiations. So if bombing Iran has no impact, then almost anything would probably have more impact. So like for this, so what bothers me about this article is presenting it as U.S. officials believe sanctions could hurt more than bombs, presents it as, oh, we've decided not to bomb anymore because we've suddenly discovered sanctions are even better. No, you've decided not to bomb anymore because A, bombing wasn't working, and B, you're running out of bombs. That's why you're going for sanctions. Sanctions are the fallback. And Donald Trump refused to admit that the bombing wasn't working. Again, we're losing this war, guys, that the bombing wasn't working. Thank you, Cynthia. And that's why we're switching to sanctions. Now, I'm happy to try sanctions, but let's not fool ourselves that this was some brilliant pivot of Trump's now that, now we're going to do sanctions because they're even more effective. Yeah, they're more effective than the failed strategy. Pretty much anything is more effective than the failed strategy so far. But whatever. Trump blamed Biden and Ukraine today for the fact that the U.S. has a weapons shortfall, but we don't have a weapons shortfall. They keep doing this, claiming we're low on weapons, but we're not low on weapons because he's president for a year and a half now. He's going to look like an idiot if he says we're, and frankly, puts our country at risk when he says we're low on weapons, right? But Trump did it again today, like his officials have been saying all week. Oh, it was Ukraine and Biden. Biden gave all the weapons to Ukraine, and that made a big weapons shortfall. So I was trying to find a good article that walked through why that's, because it's from Trump. It's going to be bullshit. It was bullshit. Big surprise. Factcheck.org. Defense experts told us that aid to Ukraine has temporarily reduced the U.S. reserve of available weapons. It is true that U.S. stockpiles are badly depleted by aid to Ukraine, said Jennifer, but wait for it, okay? Said Jennifer Kavanaugh, a senior fellow and director of military analysis at Defense Priorities, a think tank that advocates a restrained foreign policy, told us in an email. This long-term problem will take time to address. It is not something that has been resolved and is an ongoing across types of munitions and air defense. However, she said it would be misleading to suggest that military aid to Ukraine is responsible for most of the current munitions concerns. She said, okay, in Iran, because the type of weapons that have been used in the war to date in Iran, with the exception of Patriot interceptors, most of the munitions in use in the Middle East were not given to Ukraine at any point. Her point is, yeah, we do have a weapons shortfall because of Ukraine, but they're not the weapons we're using in Iran. They have nothing to do with Iran. So for Trump to say we're having problems with Iran because Biden gave too many weapons to Ukraine, he's lying. The weapons used for Ukraine and the weapons for Iran are totally different other than the Patriot interceptors. So that's why, and again, it takes a little bit of nuance here. You guys are fine with it. Some of the bad people aren't. But yes, helping Ukraine decreased our weapons over here in this pile. The weapons in this pile are the ones we're using for Iran. They're decreased because Trump decided to attack Iran when it wasn't necessary. That's why. So voila. Now you got it. Mail-in ballot update. The legal fight over which article was this from? Shit. This, I think, was from Semaphore. This was a little scary today, actually. This was from Semaphore. Listen to this. The legal fight over a Trump executive order restricting the use of mail-in ballots narrowed over the last 24 hours to a central question. Can a court block it, Trump's executive order trying to get rid of mail-in ballots? Can a court block it before agencies have figured out how to implement it? Trump's lawyers petitioned the Supreme Court last night to lift an injunction blocking the order handed down by the First Circuit Court of Appeals, arguing that the lawsuit brought by 23 states and D.C. was premature because key agencies have not finalized relevant regulations. What they're saying is the Trump people are saying, look, yeah, Trump pretty much banned mail-in ballots with executive orders, but the agencies haven't even come up with the regulations yet. So in other words, you don't even know yet exactly what they're doing. Shouldn't we wait and see what the agencies are doing before a court says, aha, what you're doing oversteps the bound of what you are allowed to do under the U.S. Constitution that pretty much doesn't let Trump do anything because elections are the purview of the states. So that's the discussion. What is concerning to some degree, Semaphore. Today, in a separate lawsuit brought by the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee over the same executive order, the D.C. Circuit affirmed a lower court decision that allowed the order to proceed during litigation. So the concern there is a separate court said, yes, you can go ahead with the order while we're litigating. Now, what worries me is how far does that go? Meaning, we are trying to determine in court if Trump is allowed to ban mail-in ballots. If we allow him to ban them while we are determining whether he's allowed to ban them, that's irreversible. He's already screwed up the fall election because states will not move ahead with their mail-in ballots, preparing them, printing them, whatever, right? So it already is something you can't fix. It's a mistake you can't fix. So therefore, he should be stopped from interfering with this. unless he's proving he's got a likelihood of victory, and there isn't much of a likelihood of victory normally because the president doesn't have the power to get involved with elections. It's not, under the U.S. Constitution, elections are governed by the states, not by the presidency. Anyway, it's a little scary. That one has me a little bit worried as far as how it progresses, especially now that the court system is basically an adjunct to the Republican Party. Also, semaphore, this was interesting. Democratic Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky asked Republican Senator Mitch McConnell to verbally address Kentucky voters to assure them he is fit to serve. And if he does not, Beshear asked Majority Leader John Thune, Republican in the U.S. Senate, to investigate and begin the process of expelling him from the Senate. Interesting. Not a terrible idea, but very interesting. We've got a reflecting pool update. So, the reflecting pool, the pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial that Trump screwed up the sealant, and then he tried to lie and pretend like liberal activists used a knife to cut it, but there's no evidence of a knife. And now that we've seen all the pictures, like I had gotten some video the other day. Oop, it is getting darker. Oh, no, it's starting to rain now. All right. Oh, we're starting to get our rain. Thank you, Cricket. I haven't seen that before for the sacks. I don't think so. Thank you. I do. I love a good rainstorm. So the reflecting pool, right? So Trump screws up. We see video the other day, and I took video the other day, and it didn't hit me. I told you guys about this later because somebody else mentioned it. It didn't hit me until I looked at the video again later, that the video showed the reflecting pool sealant flapping in the wind. But when you could see the sealant, you saw it like it was a jagged edge of sealant that was ripped off the bottom. It wasn't a sealant that was cut with a knife. If it's cut with a knife, right, it would be straight across. It would look like, it would look like a piece of paper, right? I mean, if you cut it straight across, it's going to look like this. If you do it like this, it's going to look like this. This is how it looked. It was torn, by the way, 20, 30, 40 feet long worth tear. They never said a person tore it. They said the people used knives and cut a 900-foot long path with a knife is what Trump said. They've never alleged that anybody tore a 30-foot length by hand. It was torn by itself, by the wind, by the shitty job they did putting it down. But it actually, and you know how it probably tore? It probably tore simply along the line of where they put the sealant, how they put the sealant down, and then they basically put one square and then put a square next to it and a square next to it, overlapping. And where the overlap happened, boy, we're getting a really nice rain now. Damn. The only thing I worry about is I've got some young plants out there. Oh, God, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm looking at it, and it's actually doing that thing where you can see the rain come down in sheets. And I've got like 2 trees, and some neighbors got me a beautiful little olive tree that's really cute. And I've got a lemon tree that I've been growing from seed for a year and a half. The lemon tree is only this tall, so I'm like, oh, God, it better be nice to my lemon tree. Well, we shall see. I do like a good rain. I love a good rain, but hopefully nothing like that. All right. So the Olympic athlete. So the one guy, David Hearn, is the former Olympic athlete, right? I can't move them anywhere. They're like 20 feet that way. There's no way to move them. I'm not going out there. Now there's no way I'm going out there now. It's pouring rain. Yeah. No, hopefully they're okay. I don't have if I go out there, I'm going to be sopping wet, and I'm going to bring water inside too. It's coming down in literal sheets. Well, we just hope it should be okay. If it breaks, the tree's going to come up from where it broke. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, do it for the likes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Me running out there with my door flying open, the rain everywhere. Oh my God. Anyway. Yeah. No, we've never had the rain. We actually don't get good rainstorms here. Not like we do in the Midwest. We always get good rainstorms. I love the Midwestern rainstorms we get in Chicago, and we just never get them out here like that. I mean, we do sometimes, but not like we do back home. Like this is first time this year, and it's the end of July, that I recall it being this good of a rainstorm. Yeah, Florida, I'm sure you get nice ones there. It's like, what do you do? So anyway, David David Hearn, right, who's the Olympic athlete who was arrested for a felony. Thank you, Heather, for allegedly destroying the reflecting pool, blah, 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 blah. Well, his lawyers filed in court today and said, basically, prove it. They're demanding that Trump's attorney general, Jeanine Pirro, remember Jeanine Pirro, that Jeanine Pirro basically release the grand jury testimony that she used to prove that he had damaged the pool. Because what she's alleging is that he caused more than $1,000 worth of damage, because more than $1,000 worth of damage is a felony. Less than that is a misdemeanor, which is much smaller sentence if it's a misdemeanor. Felony much bigger. Thank you, Cricket. Well, what they said was they introduced no photographic evidence that they know of. They had the testimony of one Park Service guy. The Park Service guy has also said that the pool was damaged before he got there. Hoosier just said the same thing, that the pool was damaged before he got there, before the Hearn got there. And the Park Service guy said the pool needed to be replaced entirely before Hearn got there. So if the pool was a wreck, was 100% destroyed and needed to be completely replaced, how did Hearn cause $1,000 of damage in something that was a total wreck? Right? Right? It's like your car getting into an accident and being a total wreck, 100% destroyed, like it's scrap metal. And then somebody backs up and backs into your car. But the car is already a chunk of metal that's literally only worth the metal because it was already destroyed. Somebody backs into it and you say, oh, you just hit my fender. That's going to cost $1,000 to repair. Right? Your fender on the piece of square metal that's remaining from your car. Right? That's what they're trying to do with the reflecting pool. They're already acknowledging the reflecting pool had to be completely replaced, the sealant. And then they're trying to claim that later on, even if somebody cut a piece, let's pretend they did cut a piece. Let's pretend they did just find it floating. You cut a piece of something that was already destroyed. If a car is already destroyed, you can't tell somebody, well, you backed into my car later and it's going to cost me to replace the bumper when you're already buying a new car because the bumper's worthless. You get my point. I don't want to stretch the example too far, but I think you guys get it. So anyway, we'll see. They're demanding that the grand jury transcripts be made public. Trump is going to end Medicare Part D premium subsidies. This is very interesting. It's from the Wall Street Journal. Medicare is the senior health insurance program in America for seniors, for retired people. And it's their health insurance program. The Republicans have long been rumored to want to sort of end Medicare and Social Security, which is the retirement program as well, because it costs a lot of money. The Republicans deny it, and then they admit it. Like they kind of admit it a lot because it eats a lot of the budget. And then because it's so politically dangerous, they then deny it. Well, Trump just ended subsidies for the prescription drug plan, which is called Medicare Part D. Wall Street Journal. Trump administration plans to end a subsidy program that helped hold down premiums for Medicare drug plans, a move that could leave many seniors facing higher rates for their prescription coverage next year. The move will eliminate a program that is giving insurance companies an estimated $3.6 billion in subsidies this year to blunt increases in premiums for the Medicare prescription plans known as Part D. The program will end after 2026, according to administration officials. Woo! This is going after Medicare. This is making Medicare more expensive. This shit is so freaking dangerous for them to do this. This is the kind of stuff nobody likes. Even Republican voters, I can't remember a lot of them like this. Oh boy. Tornado warnings coming your way. Are there warnings out in Virginia? Well, my phone has got that thing on it that'll scream at me. It should scream at me if there's a tornado warning. Well, right now it's actually nicer out here. Not a warning right now. So far, so actually, now I'm going to take a quick peek at my plants just to make sure the poor things didn't get thrown over. Nope, I can still see the olive tree. Can't quite tell about olive is standing. Can't quite tell about my my lemon, but hard to tell. All right, well, My olive tree is still doing well. The lemon tree, God only knows, but things are still standing. Oh, was there a goat scream? Or no? Sorry. Oh, yeah, tornado warnings in Philly. Yeah, that's not, for us, it would have to be out west. Yeah. No, Northern Virginia. Oh, tornado warning through 10 p.m.? That sounds a bit suspicious. You sure it's not a tornado watch through 10 p.m.? I'd be surprised that a tornado warning was going 3.5 hours, but maybe. Anyway, all right. What else we got here? Oh, Trump's new plane. So Trump new plane updates. Very interesting. The I've got an app on my phone. It should scream if there's a tornado warning, and then I go downstairs. But we'll see. So Trump's new plane. New York Times doing even more investigations on Trump's plane. So Trump, as you know, right, he goes to Turkey. He takes the new plane. He then gets threatened by Iran and can't take the plane back to the U.S. because he rushed the work on the plane, and they never put the security stuff on the plane that it needed to protect the president. So he was flying an unsafe plane because he's an idiot, because he rushed the job, because he wanted to show off and show everybody the plane. He's an idiot. Well, one of the other things he did, which was idiotic, remember how Trump wanted darker colors? Air Force One is typically like white with a light blue, like a powder blue. And he wanted dark blues, like our flag, dark red, dark blue, right? There was a reason the plane was white and light blue. According to the New York Times, Trump wanted darker colors, even though it's a heat trap and can mess with electronics in the plane's hull. The dark colors absorb heat, and it screws up all the electronics in the plane for counter defense and all that kind of communications, all that kind of stuff. He made them do it anyway. Even though it's going to cause problems possibly for the security of the plane and the communications of the plane if there's a crisis or something else. It's like, okay, Donnie, you go, girl. What else did he do? Several key security and safety features on the Boeing planes that have been used for decades as Air Force One are not visible on the upgraded jet, including a lower level exit for high risk situations. Lower level exit could be like the movie Air Force One, where the backdrops and like this pod comes out. There basically is supposed to be an exit in the bottom of the plane that the president can escape out of if he needs to. It's not on the new plane because Trump rushed the job. I mean, it's, including a lower level exit for high risk situations, additional backup power capacity, and an advanced anti-missile system, public Air Force records and photographs examined by the New York Times show. The planes currently being built to serve as the permanent presidential fleet are also set to have such features. So they're going on all the new planes, but Trump didn't put it on this plane. That's because he's an idiot, basically. The 747-8 plane was overhauled on a compressed timeline of just 8 months. Experts say the jet would have needed several years for a full upgrade. Because the Qatari jet was being pushed into service so quickly, some White House officials initially expected it would only be used for domestic travel or to visit allied countries with U.S. military bases because it wasn't safe enough. The government spent hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase equipment. Listen to this. So the Trump people keep going, it only cost $400 million to upgrade the plane. You'll be surprised to find out the New York Times found they lied. Like everything else, it's costing massive amounts of money more than Trump claimed. The government spent hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase equipment needed to train pilots to fly the 747-8 plane so quickly, on top of the approximately $400 million cost of the upgrades that the administration has publicly acknowledged. The Pentagon has tried to mask the total price tag, including masking it from Congress, by taking the funds from a classified budget for nuclear modernization. Let's put a finer point. I may have to do a TikTok video on this one. Let's put a finer point on this. Money that was supposed to go for modernizing our nuclear weapons instead is going to make Donald Trump's plane look pretty. We're not modernizing our nuclear weapons sufficiently because this guy stole the money and is using it for his plane. And he's hiding it from Congress. That's the New York Times saying that, not me. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh, God. We're going to switch to Ukraine in a second. But I mean, just never ceases to blow my mind, this guy. Again, imagine, and mind you, this is the plane he's taking with him when he leaves. Okay? This is the plane that's going to go to the Trump library. There is no Trump library. Trump's setting up a for-profit hotel and resort kind of thing. The plane in 2 years is going to leave and go to Trump's for-profit hotel. And we're spending, well, like it said, a lot more money than 400 million. Hundreds of millions more. Just to purchase the equipment to train the pilots. So which means that's putting you closer to 1 billion at least. And they didn't put, by the way, if they already spent nearly $1 billion and they haven't even put all of the equipment that the protective equipment that was supposed to be on the plane, imagine what they're doing now, right? Right? Imagine what they're doing now. If they haven't even put all the equipment on the plane, the security equipment that has to be there. So it's going to cost even more than $1 billion. Yeah. How embarrassing for everyone who supported this guy. Man, how completely embarrassing. Man, it's just the lies, you know. Loomer. So Ukraine looking much better, looking very good. The Ukraine stuff kind of crazy here. This is wild. Laura Loomer says she called Trump from Ukraine. So Laura Loomer, big Trumper, huge audience, like a couple million people on TikTok, or on Twitter, I should say. Huge, crazy, kind of racist against Muslims at least. But she suddenly changed her mind and no longer supports Russia and supports Ukraine instead, which frankly is huge. Well, it does sound like hail. Yeah, it's still pouring out, but you're right. I'm hearing, yeah. Somebody said hail out west. You're right. Mr. Andrew, are you out west? Because you're right. This is starting to be hail. I can hear it. Fun. Okay. You can always tell when it starts to hail because you're getting little like little bit of ding, ding, ding going on, right? Ooh, sorry guys. I'm just enjoying my rainstorm here. At least, I mean, the sky looks fine though, so we're safe. That's not an issue, but always fun to hear the hail. That was just a little bit. It's gone now. So anyway, Laura Loomer. So Laura Loomer, big Trumper. She is in Ukraine right now, has decided Russia's the enemy and Ukraine's the good guy, and is spreading that information everywhere, which is amazing. Listen to this. Laura Loomer says she called Trump from Ukraine, plans to brief the president on the visit. I spoke to President Trump 2 days ago after I interviewed President Zelensky. More from Laura Loomer. White House sources tell me that, so she tweeted this. White House source tells me that during President Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky today, it was agreed that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will now make a visit to Kyiv, Ukraine for the first time ever in the spirit of diplomacy and trying to end the war. So these are Trump's top two negotiators, including his son-in-law. A date and time is going to be set soon, and the plan is to get them to Kyiv within the next 2 weeks. Great, because they haven't been there. And they basically need to go see the Ukrainian side of things, right? This was my suggestion to the White House earlier this week when I met with President Zelensky and Ambassador Kitsitsa, whatever, at the presidential palace in Ukraine. During all of my interviews here in Ukraine over the last week, I also urged Witkoff and Kushner to travel to Kyiv for meetings, and I adamantly said they've had enough meetings in Moscow and should come to Ukraine, especially now that Russia is supplying Iran with weapons and satellite imagery to murder American soldiers, she said. This is a great picture of President Trump and Zelensky. Looks like Zelensky even wore a suit. Incredible things are happening. Further down, Wall Street Journal, I'm going to read you a little bit from the Journal story below, and then I'll read you more above, about Laura Loomer. Trump has also heard recently from right-wing activist Laura Loomer, who reversed her long-standing criticism of Ukraine after traveling to Kyiv and interviewing Zelensky. Trump and Loomer have talked on the phone several times since her trip. She explained her change of heart by saying she was tricked by Russian propaganda and praised Zelensky as a wartime leader and essential ally. She has talked to Trump multiple times on the phone since she arrived in Ukraine a week ago. This woman has influence. This is what I was saying. I was saying, and I wasn't quite sure whether she still had influence, but I was saying, from what we know, She seems to still have influence. Trump retweets her still, which means he still follows what she's doing and agrees with her, and agrees with her enough that he's willing to retweet her. And now we've got a report from the Wall Street Journal, which means they confirmed it, that Trump has twice talked by phone to Laura Loomer since she arrived in Ukraine. He's twice talked to her about Ukraine, and he took her call. This woman has influence with Trump. She's a huge MAGA activist. She's racist and lots of other bad things, but she's a huge MAGA activist, huge following, and she has little Donnie's ear. Not little Donnie, big Donnie. She has Donald Trump's ear like nobody's. He loves her. Whether he loves her, I don't know, but he loves this chick. Like, she's got anything she says, he wants to hear. And the fact that she was able to get him on the phone twice this week is a huge deal. Huge deal. So this was a big deal. This is what I'm saying. Like, and some people were like, oh, it doesn't matter. It matters a lot. When you get somebody who he listens to, she's probably 33. She's 34. I think she might have even said 34 the other day. She's 33, 34. And he loves her, which again, good. You know what? Oh, there we go. That's funny. It's in the clouds broke and now it's opening up. Weird. Well, when it stops, I may go get my lemon tree. I'm a little nervous about my poor little lemon tree tonight. I think my olive tree can handle it. The lemon, I'm like, you're a little young there. But anyway, let me read you a little more from the Wall Street Journal. For more than a year, President Trump insisted in private conversations with advisors that Ukraine was losing the war. But in recent weeks, the president has expressed fresh optimism about Ukraine and its leader, Volodymyr Zelensky. According to people who have spoken to him, Trump, the people said, has been impressed with Zelensky's resilience as he takes the fight deep into Russian territory. Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. It's getting warm in here. The shift comes after several meetings on the sidelines of global summits where the Ukrainian president has tried to charm Trump, the people said, part of a concerted campaign by European leaders to improve the relationship. Trump has come to admire Ukraine's drone industry, especially its ability to defend against the same drones the U.S. faces in the Iran war. Trump, a senior administration official, said, likes winners, and Zelensky, in the U.S. president's estimation, is increasingly looking like one. Quote, we've actually developed a good relationship. It's hard to believe, right? Trump said during a July meeting with Zelensky in Turkey. Trump's views on the war also have been shaped through less traditional means. He was impressed, listen to this, he was impressed by heavyweight boxer Oleksandr Usyk of Ukraine during an Oval Office meeting last month before the Ultimate Fighting Championship cage match at the White House. Usyk told Trump, or Usyk, whatever, told Trump that Ukrainians are fighters and winners, according to people familiar with the meeting. Trump has also heard from Loomer, we said. Trump has privately said that he was impressed with Ukraine's effective use of drone warfare. And then Ukraine over the weekend struck vessels funneling arms from Iran to Russia through the Caspian Sea, showcasing a new capability to strike a critical supply line for Tehran to one of its most important military partners, a move that could further reinforce Trump's appreciation of Ukraine's battlefield prowess. That's the point I made yesterday. The Ukrainians attacked or blew up 2 ships going to supply weapons to Russia from Iran, blew them up in the Caspian Sea. The Iranians claimed at least one of the ships was Iranian, civilian ship, and they killed Iranians. And the Ukrainians, who knows? I read with you. The Iranians claimed, the Ukrainians apologized and said they wouldn't do it again. The public Ukrainian statement was much different. The public Ukrainian statement was we certainly don't want escalation with Iran. We want good relations. It's very important that Iran not help Russia. And basically this kind of stuff. They basically said, yeah, we'd like not to blow you up. Right? I mean, that's pretty much what the Ukrainians said. The Iranians said, oh no, they said it was a mistake. I read the Ukrainian statement. It was this long from their foreign minister. He did not say it was a mistake. I've got it. So I could almost pull it up somewhere probably. He did not say it was a mistake. Donald Trump will love the fact that the Ukrainians blew up an Iranian ship. Supplying weapons to Russia, having said that, as part of their war with Russia, Trump will be impressed by that, right? And first of all, he hates Iran right now. I talked about this yesterday. Who's the only other country besides Israel and America that's blown up Iranian military? Ukraine. Now it's Ukraine. So all of the allies, I mean, I don't think the allies should have helped, but all of the allies didn't help. Ukraine helped, right? So very interesting in terms of how this affects Trump with all of this, right? Anyway, very interesting stuff. Iran said it wants compensation from Ukraine. Now, that was the best part. Iran said, you blew up our ship. We want compensation. Now, I'm surprised the Ukrainians didn't sit there and turn around and say, you want compensation for your 50, or let's pretend the ship costs $10 million. I doubt it does, but maybe it does. You want compensation for your $10 million ship? We'd like compensation for our $3 trillion country that you destroyed. Feel free. All those drones blowing up Ukraine, they came from Iran. First, they literally came from Iran, and then Iran gave Russia the factories and the technology to make the drones. Iran is responsible for half of Ukraine being blown up, and the Ukrainians should have turned around and said, we will happily give you your $10 million for your ship if you'll give us the $3 trillion for our economy that you blew up. And I'm surprised nobody said it. Maybe the Ukrainians were trying to, even things out, but somebody really, for the Iranians, we want compensation. You want compensation? Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, the Tyumen oil refinery in Russia has completely ceased operations following a Ukrainian attack, according to Reuters. According to the agency, after the attack on July 25th, 2 key units at the plant were disabled, causing the refinery to halt oil processing and fuel production. Again, it's another oil refinery. Ukraine has destroyed, or at least decreased Russian oil refining, I read the other day, by 50%, 50, that they're no longer able to refine, or at least whether it's on hold or whatever, they can't refine the oil. You've got to refine oil. I'm not an expert on this, but you got to refine oil to turn it into gas and, maybe it's even different kind of a pure oil, gasoline, fuel, etc. So very cool. The other thing, what do you think? Oh, you know what? I think it stopped raining. Now, is it supposed to rain all night? Let me look here. I'm deciding if I'm going to run out there and grab my lemon tree. Like I said, I was getting a little nervous. Let me look here. A little nervous about my little lemon tree getting trounced. Well, tornado watch till 10 p.m. Yeah. I'm going to grab my lemon tree just to be nice. One moment. And then I'm going to have to kick off my shoes so they don't get totally wet here. All right, I'm very wet here. One second, guys. There we go. All right. That's better. There we go. All right. That's better. All right. Okay. Did not destroy the lemon tree. I've now got water on my floor. Stop that. I've got one of those magnetic things on my balcony. One second here. And now I have water all over my floor. And I don't want water all over my floor or all over my socks. So there we go. All right. That's better now. Okay. Feeling better now. All right. That was interesting. That was interestingly, my lemon tree was looking fine. My olive tree was literally looking like this. I was like, oh God. So the lemon tree didn't mind as much. The olive tree got bent a little. So, okay. Those little guys are staying inside now. They're staying inside now. Well, I'm going to put in the same direction of the sun? No, that's not true. Matthias, it's the opposite. You should every few weeks rotate your plants. Otherwise, they're literally gonna go just towards the sun. I would think. Anyway, all right, we're back. I saved my trees. So the last little story, which I thought was interesting, was this Greek woman on Twitter, which I was reading, Oops, what is that? Oh, that's the review thing. I hate doctor's offices with their stupid reviews. Oh, they'll review my prescription. Okay, we know that. Yes, I'm going to get my prescription. Don't worry. I got to remember to do that tomorrow, actually. The last thing. So the Odyssey, right? People have been complaining, or the right wingers are complaining. Oh my God, they made a black woman Helen of Troy. Oh my God, right? That kind of crazy shit. And a Greek woman weighed in on Twitter today, and I thought had a really good comment about it that I really liked. She said, as a Greek, this is Vasiliki Souvlaki, as a Greek, I was introduced to Homer almost as soon as I learned to read. His epics are among the first great works we encounter at school, and they remain a living part of our cultural consciousness. Given that, I really don't care whether Christopher Nolan, who's the producer or whatever, or director of the movie, has remained completely faithful to Homer or has taken creative liberties. What truly matters is that he has brought Homer back into the world's imagination. If his film encourages people to return to the Odyssey, discover the Iliad, or venture further into the treasures of classical literature, then it has already accomplished something extraordinary. Any work of art that sends people back to the source has, in my view, made a genuine contribution to culture. I read a story today that like unlimited numbers of people are taking Greek now, which I thought was nuts. Oh, is that going on? Oh, that's probably what just went through, Gunther. Yeah, that must be it. That unprecedented numbers of people. This was a Greek woman on Twitter, and I looked at her profile. Didn't really say anything particular about who she was, but her name is Vasiliki Souvlaki. And it was, again, the book clubs across America are reading the Odyssey. The number of purchases of the Odyssey has gone through the roof of the book. Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. I saw some article today that said an unprecedented number of people are taking Greek language classes because of the Odyssey, which I think is funny. I mean, just because, I've studied Greek. It ain't fun. I mean, I'm glad. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to move my carpet around. I'm glad. Oh, geez. I'm move this stuff too. Really? Sorry, guys. They're trying to move my shoes that, again, were sitting on the wet floor. Like, I'm glad people are studying Greek, but it's not easy. So it's an interesting point, Interesting point. Some person who did a prominent English translation of the Odyssey says she abhors the movie, And again, like, he changed the end of the movie. That's stupid. But I do think it's a very interesting point to say that, you've gotten people interested in classical literature, and you've gotten them looking back at the literature, looking back at the language, probably interested in possibly going to Greece. I mean, you've created interesting sort of interest in the issue overall, which is kind of a good thing. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, we'll do our usual hangout now for the rest. Up. Hey, JTA, adjust my screen so I can sit back and rest a moment here. There we go. And I'm sure it'll rain again, but my plants are not, well, the two plants that I'm worried, all the other plants, although actually I do have my little, he's probably okay. Ooh, are they? Oh, let's hope they're okay. Yeah, I've got my carnivorous plant. I transplanted it and it has not been happy, but we'll see. My Drosera has not been happy since transplantation, but we shall see. But like I said, my lemon tree was looking good. My olive tree was, speaking of Greek, my olive tree was a little unhappy, but it should be okay. They're okay. I've got them sitting by the sink now, so they should be okay. Anyway, my little trees. Anyway, yeah, the lights up high are fun. My blue lights. I put blue Philips Hue lights on this ridge that I've got, and it ended up being just perfect. Like, Philips Hues don't always look good, but sometimes they look good. And I found they kind of need to be in a particular place that's a little closed in and this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what that ended up doing. It looks really nice. Anyway. Oh boy. All right. Now we're hanging. Hybrid warfare from Russia on the Baltic's already happening. Yep. Correct. Well, they've been doing hybrid warfare against Europe too, you know? I do like plants. I mean, they're a lot of work. Like I'm going to get my drip watering system set up again because I've had it previously and I moved to New York and ripped it up, which was a pain in the ass because then I came back in 2 years. But I want to set it up again because like to be able to just go away and have Damien check, but not be as worried about my plants. And it's easier for him if I've got the setup outside, you know? Yeah, I just don't want. I had a fig tree at one point. I just don't want too many. I mean, I've got too many plants already. Even this, I'm like, I don't. I almost would like to. A couple plants died, and I was kind of like, good. I kind of need to have some of it just, have. I think there's no plants that I want to get rid of, but it wouldn't hurt to have some of them. Excuse me. Some of them winnow out a little bit. The olive tree does bear fruit. Yes. I Googled it. I found I asked the guys, I said, can you give me a link to the company you got it from? Because I'd like to see what kind of olive and care and stuff. And the most interesting thing was it said these trees could have fruit within a year. And they're olives and they're edible olives. And you have to kind of, I forget what you do. I don't think you dry them. I think you just have to put them in the brine or whatever. And you put them in the brine for however many months and, I mean, I've seen Greek women on TikTok do it, which is really funny. Oh, hey, Julie. Yeah, I do them a little of everywhere, not just on that place. I do it on this place as well where you are. But yeah, like these Greek women that take the water bottles in Greece, right? Because everybody drinks out of water, the liter water bottles. Right? They look like the French ones. They take the liter water bottles and they put the olives in them. And I forget what they put. I don't know if they put water. What do they put? I don't remember. Do they actually put a brine? I don't remember what they put. But they fill it with whatever brine and they let it sit for a few months. And I forget how long. And then they've got olives, So is it salted water? Fallen says salted water. Oh, interesting. It is salted water. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Some olive trees might need a second tree. These self-pollinate. With the bees and everything else, it said. So you need to cut them. You cut the olive a bit. Oh, well, next year I'll worry about it. I'm not getting any olives anytime soon from this, but I could get olives next year, which would be kind of fun. So we shall see. We shall see. Oh, speaking of Greek culture, making olives, it'd be kind of fun if they work, I know everybody knows how to make olives. I'm like, wow, very, very expert crew we've got here today. I'm not olive crazy. I've only learned to like them as an adult. As a kid, I never liked them. I appreciate them now. It kind of depends. Like, I don't really want them on a pizza, For me, olives with bread are very good. A tapenade can be great because it's with bread. I find olives with bread are very good. Like I'd had an olive bread several years ago that was delicious. The combination goes well, I find. But olives as olives, yeah, it's okay. Like with a salad now I can eat them, But again, I've never loved them like my family has loved them. But I appreciate them now much more. Good night, Colin. Anyway, but yeah, olives. But it's true, like on a pizza. Although onions on a pizza, I find even more gross. Olives on a pizza, I don't love. Onions on a pizza, bleh. Raw onions are not my friend. I've always found them to be too gross. You know what I mean? Like a raw onion, maybe on a hot dog, maybe. Although with me, I want a raw onion on my hot dog with ketchup. So the hot dog purist would hate me for that. But a raw onion, I find them to be too strong generally. So, whereas caramelized onions, ooh la la. Thank you, Chazak. All right. Anyway, what else, guys? Oh man, sorry. Doing my usual. I did have a little bit of a nap today, so that was good. Still trying not to have my coffee later in the day for heartburn's sake. So we'll see. Yeah, Vidalia onions are sweet. Yes. I've had them, but I don't quite know what I would cook them in, Chicagoans are not supposed to put ketchup on a hot dog. I've been made fun of for that before, but you know, also yellow mustard, disgusting. French mustard on a hot dog, sure, but it still needs ketchup. Still has to have ketchup. Anyway, what else, guys? Onions in a Greek salad? I prefer not to. I don't like raw onions. I take them out of salads and things. Even with one of the, not first, but when I was in Greece when I was younger, I would love to get souvlaki sandwiches or like a gyros sandwich. Souvlaki is a shish kebab. And I'd get like a shish kebab sandwich or a gyros sandwich. And I would always, and I learned to tell the guy, choris kremidia, because kremidia are onions and choris means without. And I was like, choris kremidia. I was like, kafolu, like not at all. Like, because I hated them. Oh my God. I just, raw onions, again, cooked onions to die for. Raw onions, ugh, very bad thing. Anyway, but in Greece is fun because in Greece, like on the island at least, it was like, actually, I've got to make more pita bread. I finished my pita like last week and I've got to make more. I totally forgot about it because I made tzatziki and had my fresh, oh my God, it was so good. The fresh pita bread. I've got to make more tomorrow if I remember it. So good. Such an easy recipe. And so, oh my God, I was shocked at how good it was making your own pita. Oh, but this was like fresh pita bread that's been like seasoned and, fried, not fried, but cooked on the stovetop. And then with like souvlaki, the shish kebab, tomatoes, skip the onions, feta, tzatziki. And then they put the French fries in the sandwich, which was it. I didn't object to it. It was different. It was good, but it was different. Like the French fries in the sandwich, so that you eat the fries as part of the sandwich. Oh my God. Oh, woo. Yeah. But no, I was shocked. Pita, very easy to make, shockingly good. Shockingly good making your own pita, which makes me think making your own tortillas. A friend told me the same thing. She goes, I made tortillas once. She goes, I couldn't believe how good they were. She goes, I'm thinking they're tortillas. How good could they be? Oh, yeah. Pita bread. Oh my God. So I am going to make it again because they were so damn good. I have nothing to eat them with, but your own roti. What is roti? I only know it's a word in French for like roast. But what does it actually, what is it? What is a roti? Pittsburgh thing is fries in a sandwich. That's interesting. Fried corn tortilla. I'm not a corn tortilla. I'm a flour tortilla guy, but in an air fryer, it could be good either way. Not a bad idea. In Belize, we make our own corn tortillas with a simple dough. So good because you can make 2 at a time for breakfast or cut them in the middle with butter and just eat it with some refried beans and whatever else you want. Yeah. Oh, that's true though. You're right. I didn't think of that you could kind of, even the pita, it's bread. You could eat it with cheese or whatever you want, really, Roti is another word for chapati, Indian flatbread. I've never had Indian flatbread. I shouldn't say that. I've probably had it in an Indian restaurant. I don't recall though. I mean, I must have had it in an Indian restaurant because I ate bread. But I don't know. I don't remember it though. So, I would try it. I mean, I love breads, obviously. But oh my God, like I said, this recipe on TikTok, my eyes are watering again like yesterday. I told you like something was happening with although today with the rain, it shouldn't be allergies. The rain should have knocked all the allergens out of the air. But yeah, I do love my bread. God, I love bread. But yeah, maybe tomorrow I will make more of the tortillas. I could even make small ones because they're big tortillas. And honestly, they're a little big. Like, I don't like that the serving size is a bit large. So I may cut them in half so I can have like little ones as snacks, Ooh la 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 la. Bread and olive oil, that's true. Yeah, we'll see. I've got to see what I would use them with. Because again, tzatziki is obvious. I do a feta. Man, I could easily just whip something up, Baked beans for breakfast? I would not do that. Yes, we would not. I know I didn't mention it. In the U.S., we would not have baked. I wasn't sure if you meant the frijoles for breakfast. We would not do that in the U.S. Well, I shouldn't say we. Non-Latinos would not do that for breakfast in the U.S. typically. But in the afternoon, evening, you got me. I like refried beans otherwise with my meal. Iron tortilla press. Interesting. The UK, they're into their weird stuff. The UK probably eats it. They like beans. Don't they have beans for breakfast in the UK? I vaguely remember something like that, don't they? Yeah, UK has baked beans in their English breakfast. Yeah, baked beans. Oh my God. I like baked beans, but for breakfast, I'm like, all right. Yeah, beans on toast. That's it. Such a funny thing. Beans on toast. It's like, oh my God. It's so funny. Yeah. Baked beans on toast any time of day. That's funny. Yeah, beans and soup like Italians, of course. I know baked beans are great. I mean, I love, like kind of barbecued beans or whatever they're called. Like, oh my God, they're great. But yeah, I mean, you could eat it for breakfast. Why not, I guess? But we're just not used to it. We're not used to it being a breakfast thing, So, brown sauce. Full English, yep. No, I would try it. Again, it's not something we'd normally do, but I'd try. I've seen it, and I've always been like, I'm sure it's fine. Probably gives you something hearty and filling for breakfast, I'm sure, I mean, oh, that's sweet, Julie. Good luck. What kind of puppy? Julie's going to look at a puppy to keep her 10-year-old dog company. Iran just launched a strike on Jordan. Oh, God. Oh, God. The English, I think, have better food now. I mean, 25 years ago, I was in England in the 1980s. Really did not have good food then. They've got a quite a healthy assortment of food now. Was not such a fan of. Went to my friend's house for a week, and his mother's cooking was not my favorite. And she did the bean thing. There was I remember the bean. Maybe it must have been for breakfast probably, because I remember the beans popped up. Applesauce popped up a lot. Like we'd have meat on our plate, and they would put applesauce there and some other stuff, and there was meat and beans and whatever, and they would all run into each other. And I remember, what do? You eat it, but they had a French exchange student, and the French guy knew I was living in Paris, and he would kind of look at me and he'd be like, knowing I was the only one at the table who could appreciate what his problem was. I mean, no, now I can appreciate applesauce a little more. Having said that, I still don't want applesauce on my dinner plate, touching all my food. It's touching your salad. It's touching, I'm like, don't touch. I don't want gooey stuff touching the rest of my food, But the poor French kid was just like, oh my God. He told me, he goes, I'm dying here. Because you can imagine how good the French eat. I mean, they do. The French eat very well. And this is back in the 1980s. So the English palate was not as developed in the 1980s as it is today. Let's put it that way. Anyway, just looking here to see what else is going on. Let's see. Yeah, U.S. Central Command says Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched multiple ballistic missiles at U.S. forces in the Middle East in an attempted surprise attack. Woo! Ooh, that's jerky. Wow. That's not very good. Yep, you were right about that. Wow. Huh. Barack Ravid, this is the first Iranian missile attack against an American base in the region since Trump's decision to suspend the strikes against Iran on Friday. Ooh la 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 la. Wow. And then this guy, Middle East national security intelligence expert that people do follow that I know. Actually, Barack Ravid retweeted him, who's a good journalist with Axios. This guy says, why did Iran fire? The current leadership in Iran seeks to dictate the pace of the confrontation and not merely respond to decisions made in Washington. From its perspective, an offensive initiative is a way to prove that Iran still holds the strategic advantage or initiative. B, in Tehran, they identify the American hesitation as a weakness and a lack of willingness to be dragged into a broader war. But that's exactly what it is. The Iranian assessment is that applying additional pressure will precisely test Washington's resolve and influence decision-making in the White House. They're fucking with Trump. From Iran's point of view, the naval blockade is no longer just a means of pressure, but an actual declaration of war. Unlike the past, the current leadership is not prepared to accept damage to its freedom of action in the Gulf without a significant response. The direct connection between today's attacks and the activities of pro-Iranian militias in Iraq against Israel, Jordan, Saudi. This is further evidence of a change in Iran's doctrine following the rise of Khamenei. If in the past, the emphasis was mainly on response and deterrence, today Iran is also prepared to initiate offensive moves. That's bad. The ball is now back in Washington's court. In Iran, they assess that a limited American response will not change the reality. And in the end, the United States will be required to decide whether it escalates the campaign, knowing that every escalation is expected to be met with further Iranian escalation. Woo! Bottom line, this attack is further proof that Iran has no intention of surrendering and is not acting out of distress or desire to beg for negotiations. On the contrary, the leadership in Tehran is prepared to take significant risks because it sees the current confrontation as a decisive battle over its regional status and its ability to shape the security reality in the Middle East. Well, you know, they're fucking with Trump and they're winning. This is, I mean, see, Ash, this is very bad stuff. Very, very bad stuff. So, I mean, very bad. Oh, well. What else, guys? Yes, he is, TMN. Anyway, hello, Ohio guy. Anyway, what's up, guys? We got a couple more minutes, maybe 5 more minutes. We're gonna hang, maybe. The rain stopped. Oh, look, it's getting sunny on the horizon too. We'll see. Well, there was a nice bout of rain, but it's gone for now. So, we will see. Yep, oil reserves going down. Yep. TikTok's doing its weird thing, testing that I'm a human. Again, I'm very curious about whether people are putting videos of themselves on TikTok, but apparently they are, because they always, every show I've got to prove that I'm a human. Yes, we know that Iran has the naval mines because they had put some in the Gulf, or in the Strait, I should say. You know, so wild stuff. Thank you, TMT, or TMN, TMT, I'm calling it TME. Oh, TMNT Mike. All right, I'm trying to figure out what the TMNT stands for. That's not like a military thing, is it? Don't know. Anyway. Another 5 minutes and we're done. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, okay. A number of you guys got it at once. That's funny. Manda got it, and somebody on long-sighted on TikTok got it too. And Flamingo. That's funny. They're flaming. That's funny. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, like Michelangelo was one of the turtles. That's right. I was a little old for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I was just on the edge of knowing who they were. So I remember Michelangelo, Dante, maybe, and who were the other two? I'm forgetting who the other. Am I right about Dante? I think, but I can't remember who the other ones. What a ridiculous Donatello? No, Raphael. Donatello. So it wasn't Dante, or was it Dante too? Leonardo. Okay, Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo. Right? That's funny. Donatello. That's funny. That is funny. Yeah. Bizarre, and give them classical Italian names too, just to like, or maybe not classical, but whatever that would be. 1400s or whatever it is, Renaissance Italian names. Not classical, but yeah. That's funny. Iran does not have 57 nuclear armed weapons. No, they don't. Iran doesn't have nukes yet. No. What's from the Art Institute of Chicago? Yeah, that's one of those where, as always, Manda, the second comment will prove it. But I think you're right. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be able to control themselves. We shall see. I smell bacon, so to speak. So, oh, that's funny. The names are on the exterior of the building across from where the creator lived. That's funny. Anyway, good night, Jeffrey. A little late for the trolls to be coming, you know? Yeah. I mean, again, bullshit. Iran's got a powerful, I don't know that Iran's got, well, it depends what you mean by army, first of all. Depends what you mean by region, too. The Turks have a bigger army than Iran, probably, I'm going to guess. Israel's got a more powerful military. Israel does have over 100 nukes. Iran does not. So, thanks, Hago. Oh, that's fine, Ash. Amanda, go for it. Yeah, I didn't see the earlier stuff. Yeah. Like, this stuff is all bordering where you're like, all right, where is it going? You know? Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, well, we're pretty much at 7:15, so I may close up shop soon. Yeah, but nothing too much else going on. Like I said, I saved my plants. They will survive another day. My little, I can maybe do a quick picture. I can show you my olive and my, there we go. My olive and my lemon sitting on my counter. Zoomed in so you don't see how messy my counter is, but that's my lemon and my olive. The lemon is the bigger leaves of the lemon, so you can tell the olive, but they kind of blend together a bit. The lemon's a bit in front. The smaller pot is lemon, bigger pot is olive, but a little harder to see. But yeah, it's not really in focus, but you get the idea. They're good size, but they're both probably heading towards 2 feet tall, maybe 2 feet total. So they're good. They're both doing very well. Like I said, the lemon I grew from a seed just because it's risky from a seed because they don't really grow true, or they may not grow true. But sometimes I like to do that just because. So it's actually growing quite heartily from the seed. I don't know. My lemon I know is a year and a half. The olive, who knows? You know, man, I'm going to guess the olive tree's probably a year and a half, 2 years as well, probably. So it should be fun, you know? Anyway. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off since we're already at 7:15. So thank you for joining us all. Yeah, I doubt I'm going to have fresh lemons. It's going to be a little difficult I'm going to keep the tree short and we'll see what happens. Yep. We talked about the mail-in voting stuff, Cordova, earlier, because there was a court case today that at least was a little more beneficial for Trump, at least in a small way. But, you know, we'll see. But anyway, we did talk about it earlier. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off since we've been doing an hour and 15. So have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the gifts. And thank you, mods, as always. And I know I did do a reminder to make my bread. I don't feel like doing bread tonight, though. I think I'm going to, maybe tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow, though, tomorrow I've got a doctor's appointment, check into my asthma doctor. And then I've got like an appointment in the afternoon with somebody that's helping me, give me some advice on my presence overall online. So tomorrow might not be the baking day. We'll see. I may be too busy doing other stuff. So anyway, all right. I am going to sign off, guys. So we'll start with Discord. All right. Good night, Discordians. Boom. And then I will do YouTube and Substack and Facebook and everybody but TikTok, I guess. I'm not going to do a bread maker. No, I don't do bread makers because it's just too much machinery and I don't need them. I've got a very nice a box that I use for the bread proofing for it to rise. That's amazing. That's the best toy I've ever bought. Shockingly useful toy that thing is. But the bread maker, you know, they're okay. But the problem is they cook it all the same size. You have to get a recipe that works just for that. It's not a bad idea. I mean, it makes it easier to some degree. Put it in the thing and don't worry about it is easier. I don't object to that, but nah, I never did. I just didn't want another machine, you know? Anyway, all right, you guys. Oh, you should try it. I mean, you should try them. They're fun. My mom got one once and she goes, I made bread once. And she goes, I bought a bread maker once. I made bread. It was so good. She goes, I ate the entire loaf that day. She goes, and I got rid of it. She goes, I literally threw it out. She goes, I was like, an entire loaf of bread in a day. She goes, I can't have this. This is going to kill me. But it was so good. But I love it. It was so good. She ate the entire loaf in one day, so she had to get rid of it. I was like, oh my God, too funny. Anyway, all right. Goodbye, YouTube and everybody.